Hi, my name is Kasey and in today's video we are going to be discussing my story. So, my family members are actually Vietnamese refugees who came over to America back in the 1970s. The village that my grandparents were living in, they agreed that it wasn't the living conditions that they wanted to raise their family in. Keep in mind also that 1970s, this was around the time the Vietnam War was going on, and it was essentially a war zone. My grandfather actually had to fight in the Vietnam War as well, and he didn't agree with what was going on back then over there. So he went and searched for an opportunity to come over to America. What he actually did was he actually stole a boat and assisted not just my family, but numerous other families as well on the journey across. The families that he assisted as well weren't just random people. They were people who lived in the same village as them and people he grew up with. They completely trusted him because they were willing to take the risk in order to come over to America in search of a better life. So the trip across, it wasn't an easy one. They weren't sure, like once you get on the boat, there's no coming back. And they weren't sure if they had enough food. They weren't sure if they were going to make it over safely. They didn't know how long the journey was going to take. A small bowl of rice, they tried to portion it to where it would last a week. If it could last more than a week, great. They ate as little as possible to survive. It wasn't just one family, like I said. It was numerous other families as well. It wasn't just 5 people. We were up to 80, 90 people, 100 people all squeezed onto this boat. And my grandfather had to navigate the waters and not get caught. But thankfully, they safely got over to America and onto dry land. So they're in America now. How do they provide an income for their family? The opportunities there, but how do they make money? How do they put food on the table? Well, my family actually got into the shrimping business. Now, the shrimping business, it doesn't bring in quite a lot of income, but that's all they knew how to do. My grandfather knew boats. He knew how to steer a boat, shrimping. Let's get into it. Let's do it. He had one idea, took it, and ran. So that is how he provided for my family. My grandparents ended up having 8 children, and that's how he put food on the table for the next 20 years. I remember my parents had me in 1996, and my mom was only 15 at the time, and my dad was 16. And I remember growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. It was a constant struggle. I remember the electricity being cut off because we couldn't pay the bills. I remember having to get water and fill up a pot and heat it up on the stove to take a bath with warm water because the water cut off. I remember at the time my aunt had a house, and if our electricity cut off, we'd go to her house until my parents or my grandparents or my uncles, we all lived in the same house until one of us could scour up enough money to pay the bills. So that wasn't the living conditions that my dad wanted to raise me up in. He felt the need to provide better, not just for me, but his family as well. And he dabbled in a lot of illegal stuff that eventually led to him getting caught. What were intentions that were good to provide for his family ended up coming back to bite him in the butt and landed him in what they called the University of Hard Knocks. Incarceration, essentially. So my dad ended up getting incarcerated for 2 years for trying to provide better for his family. So those 2 years, my uncle took over and he got into fixing cars and stuff. So while my dad was in jail, that is how he met Ty, and Ty actually made him read a lot of books, tried to get him to read books, educate him better, because my dad did graduate high school, but he only went 2 years in college before he got incarcerated. So while he was in the University of Hard Knocks, is what they call incarceration in there, Ty was educating him. Ty was reading books and handing him over books too for him to read as well. While my dad was in there, my uncle was building up his reputation as a mechanic. By the time my dad got out, my uncle and my dad teamed up to start a mechanic business. What started out as a small auto and tire shop back in 2007 led to expansion and growth as their reputation built. They also realized that the services that they were outsourcing were services that they knew how to do themselves. Why outsource these services when they can offer it to their customers directly and do it themselves to keep the cost low? This led to even more expansion and growth, and I'll always be thankful, extremely thankful and blessed that my dad and my uncle teamed up back in 2007 to start this small business, because this is how they've provided for our families from then till now. They still have this mechanic shop. It's still up and running. They're always looking for new ways to expand and grow. And so the first apartment that me, my mom, and my dad moved into when we moved out of my grandparents' house was an apartment above the first building that they used for their first mechanic shop. We lived in there for about a year or so, give or take, and then had to move into my aunt's house for 6 months because they felt the need to move into the building across the street and use that as their new mechanic shop. And so during the 6 months that we lived at my aunt's house, my dad felt that he was financially stable enough to buy my mom her first house. So the 6 months was used to get the paperwork and everything finalized and settled. And my dad bought my mom her first house, their first house in 2008, 2009. And like I said, I'll always be extremely grateful and blessed for the small business that they started, because it provided him with the income he needed to offer us the life that he wanted to give us. And the house that he bought is in a great school district. This was how I was able to further my education. I graduated high school and was able to go on to college. And I just recently graduated college a week ago. And I have, within the past 5 years, my parents have had 2 other children, my younger sisters. And they're going to be able to grow up in a great household where they can further their education too, from kindergarten all the way through high school and on to college. Do whatever they want. They have the opportunities now. And so the mechanic shop that they started provided me with the opportunities that I needed to further my education, and ultimately provides my siblings and other family members too with many numerous opportunities that we didn't have back then. And so my dad's always kept in contact with Ty, but the last time I've probably seen him was in person was when I was in middle school back in like 2008. And so, like I said, I just graduated college a week ago and got my degree. And this is the time where a lot of new graduates are looking for jobs and everything. So my dad offered and was like, hey, Ty has a lot of connections if you want me to connect him with you. And so I was like, sure, why not? I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask him questions to see if there's opportunities available to me. So me and Ty connected, and we went over some options that I had available to me. It all boiled down to, what do I want to do with my life? So I told him, but I also told him that my dad told me way back in high school, I say way back like it was a long time ago, maybe like 5-6 years ago, that if I didn't make my first million by the time I'm 25, I'll never make it. And so with that thought in mind, that's how me and Ty came up with numerous options that I had available to me. And he offered me an opportunity that I believe that will assist me in achieving this goal of mine, $1 million by the time I'm 25. And so this is what's led us to this video. And in the future, I hope to bring you more videos of all the knowledge that Ty instills in me, whether it's personal life knowledge, life skills, how to reach your goals, or if it's in cryptocurrency, which everybody knows he's big in. And so with the knowledge that I learned from him, I'm going to project it back from you guys, and I'm literally starting from the ground up. So whatever I learn, whatever information I get from him or his business partners, I want to give it to you guys so that you guys can learn from them too through me. And like I said, I'm literally starting from the ground up. So I'm explaining them in terms that I know, and hopefully they're terms that you know. They're not the complicated terms that people are going to throw out to you when you ask them questions, and they don't feel the need to help you in any other way. They're just answering your questions. So that's where this series is going to go. A series of videos that's how it's going to go along. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, cool, that's fine, whatever. You do you, I'm doing me. And if you have any suggestions over topics that you want me to go over, or questions for me to ask Ty or anything, add them down below in the comments, because I'll be reading them, Ty will be reading them. We're gonna go over all the feedback that we get on how to improve the videos as they go along. And so yeah, I hope you like it. I hope you've liked this video so far, and if you do, remember to give it a thumbs up.